Welcome to day 2. We're so excited to be here with you. And today's going to be very interactive. So I want to really help you, if you're getting stuck on messaging or you have questions. Like I said yesterday, this is very informal. Yes, we have a PowerPoint, but we're really here to serve and to answer any questions, to help you with some tangible, practical things that you can implement right now. So anybody have questions from yesterday or anything that popped up that, like, Christine, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, wow, that was like a big light bulb moment. I know, Erin, you were talking about yesterday, a big aha for Erin was, Erin Turosh, her husband is my husband's chiropractor. And I actually had my first office at their office. So I rented out a room and I did hypnosis and all of those things. So I just adore Erin and Dr. Dan. But Erin was saying yesterday that a big light bulb moment for her was around when I was talking about like educating your audience versus really leaning in with them and challenging them. So we're going to talk about some of that too today, like more specific messaging frameworks and I call it compelling content creation that's going to have people kind of really leaning in. And we're going to talk about how you can lead that into a soulful sales conversation. So, but in the meantime, I wanted to just kind of open up for any other insights, ahas, questions. We're here for it. And if not, that's fine too. I know Erin, you might be getting dinner ready for the kids or whatever's going on, but Katie, did you want to share anything before we get started?
I'm just excited to be here for day 2.
Yeah, I'm loving that scarf. I love how it's all matchy there. I like
Thank
yellow.
you.
Beautiful.
My only yellow shirt.
We need it. It's like so
I
nasty here in
know.
Pittsburgh. I need some sunshine. Nailed it. The kids dance partying in the background. Yep. I had a feeling. No worries. All good. That's why we record this. You can watch it later. Okay, so let's just dive right in. And Katie's going to be watching the chat as I teach and vice versa. So we're going to be actively engaged. Again, if you have any questions or like, hey, what do you mean, Christina? That's totally fine. We're here to be of service. So, all right. So I know everybody was asking yesterday, like, why don't you put it in presenter mode? Blah, blah, blah. There is a reason, because whenever I did that the last time, Dr. Jen Bourgeois and I did that, and it didn't show. Like I can't see you guys and it just wasn't working. So I can even try to make it a little bit bigger. Like maybe that'll help with even everybody watching the replay, but that's why. So thank you for asking that question yesterday, but this is why we're doing it this way. Okay, so soulfully and confidently selling your offer. So yesterday we talked about a lot of the marketing. If I know Andrea, you're hopping on today, so definitely, if you have some time, go check that out. The replays in the Simplifying Streamline Facebook group. So it's a Zoom link. We did a really comprehensive, awesome, fun 90-minute deep dive on marketing yesterday, and today's really about soulfully and confidently selling your offers. So Katie's going to share a step-by-step process for selling on social media. We're going to go into some of that compelling content creation that I talked about, time and money saving strategies. Who doesn't want that? And tasks you can delegate to team members to maximize profits. So Katie, take it away. Tell your
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. So I don't know about all of you, but I have a young toddler at home when I'm working. Erin, it sounds like you have some little ones at home as well. And for anyone else who's watching the replay, or maybe you have another job and you're still trying to build your business at home. So for me, being on sales calls all the time, just it doesn't fit my lifestyle really, just because I am the only one home the majority of the time with my daughter. So I really wanted to get like educated and informed on how you can sell in the DMs and just be able to connect with people in an authentic way. Let me know in the chat if the thought of like reaching out to people and selling them your offer, if that just feels like, like I don't want to do that, that feels gross. I don't want to be a car salesman, because that's kind of how I felt a little bit. And just, I would imagine some like imposter syndrome going on and just some other internal blocks that were getting in the way of me being able to like genuinely connect with people. So
Yeah.
my number one recommendation, period, for social media is just show up like authentically and genuinely, and not necessarily like, oh, I need to sell to this person, I need to make a sale. It's just, think of it as you're getting to know them, you're making a connection, and kind of curiosity too, and just showing up from a place of service. Like, how can you impact this person, whether they're ready to start working with you or not? So a couple of ways that you can do this is look at your warm audience right now. So who is following you already, whether it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I know we're kind of all over the place. We all have our preferences for social media. I personally prefer Instagram, so I might refer to Instagram a lot, but really that they all kind of overlap each other. So who's already following you? One thing that I really like to do is whenever I get a new follower, or maybe someone joins my private Facebook group, I'm going to message them. I'm going to welcome them like, hey, thanks so much for joining. Like, what brought you here? Or, just connect with them, say hi, and then maybe you can spark a conversation. I think one really nice tip is, especially for Instagram, is if you look at their profile and like read their bio, look at any of their posts that they have. Maybe there's something you connect with them on, like whether it's they have fur babies, right? I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. I've connected with a lot of people on Instagram about our animals, and then it just leads into a conversation of, oh, I'm trying to conceive. I've been struggling for X amount of time, and then a relationship kind of builds from there. So yeah, welcoming any new followers, anyone who comments or likes on any of your posts or reels. You could always reach out to them and say like, hey, thank you so much for your like or comment, whatever it was. And you could just simply ask like, what resonated with you about this post? And then maybe that could transpire into a real beautiful conversation. So one piece that I really want to share with you is Instagram stories. Now I know Facebook stories, I believe you could kind of do the same thing. I've only done this on Instagram, but yeah, you could definitely do it on Facebook if you wanted to. Instagram is going to show you anyone who has looked at your story. And after a while of checking that, you're going to start noticing like, wow, this
Same people.
person is like watching me. They are like, I make it a habit. That is the one thing I do every single day. I make sure that my stories never expire, or that I don't ever have nothing on my story, whether it's a picture of my cat, my kid, or like an offer. If you guys have been on my stories at all, I've been sharing about this workshop. Always making sure that something is on there, because it's going to be active. The algorithm is going to really start showing it to people. I've been having like 100 viewers on my stories lately because they're just always active. And anyways, you can kind of start seeing who's got their eyes on you, even if maybe they're not commenting or liking or anything like that. And if it's someone that you don't know, you can reach out to them and be like, hey, I saw your name pop up in my story. I just wanted to say hi. Like, we haven't been properly introduced, or whatever it may be. And then again, going back to their bio, their profile, maybe you can connect on something. So on this slide here, you can see this conversation that I had. I think I just said, hey, I saw your name in my stories and wanted to pop in and say hi. Oh my God, your dog is so cute. How's it going? Now that is completely genuine. I remember she had this cute little black and white dog. And I seriously mean that. Like, your dog is adorable. How's it going? And she said, Hey there. Wow, perfect timing for reaching out. I've been following your page for a while and was going to reach out to you. So we chatted. I ended up getting on a sales call with her, and she signed up and paid in full, $3,000. So by the time I just said hi to her and on Instagram stories, she was a client within 3 weeks just by reaching out on stories. So for my niche, it's sometimes hard to know, or it's not as obvious, like if someone is trying to conceive. Typically, people aren't plastering that on their bios unless they're like an IVF, warrior or something like that. So that's why you almost have to get a little bit creative. So for you, Christine, you do like homeschooling, things like that. Like you would be able to at least see maybe this person has a child, and you can reach out to them and just start a conversation like, oh, how old is your kiddo? What are their names and where do they go to school? And then maybe they're like, oh, I actually homeschool, right? I'm homeschooling my daughter. And I connected with another pharmacist in my stories the other day, and she's like, I'm homeschooling both of my kids. So you can really make these very simple connections with people, and it doesn't have to feel pressured or pushy or anything like that. So I don't know,
I
does
do want
anyone
to
have any questions?
I do want to lean in with Andrea here. Can I lovingly challenge you here? Like I'm gonna. So because energetically I'm feeling a frequency around what you just said, right? So this is related to exactly what Katie was talking about, right? So Andrea is saying, I think every DM is scammy, don't want to engage. So I want to hear from you. Tell me more about that. You said every DM. So tell me more about that.
Yeah. Well, you and I, I have a history with social media and am not, for 5 years, I have been trying to embrace it. I've looked at it every way, upside down, inside out. I don't love the connection. I had 34 friends. I went up to 800 in Facebook, and then I deleted 3/4 of everybody. I just couldn't stand having that many people be connected to me. And so in Instagram, it seems like every time somebody connects with a post, it is either a foreign language, or it's a guy telling me I look pretty, or
I
some kind
gotcha.
of, and I figure that every DM I get, and I'm sure it's energy, maybe I'm bringing all the interesting people, but I just figure every one of them is going to try to clone my account and steal it, and I have this big security
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it makes it very uncomfortable. And I just told Lisa that I, at this point, am completely off of social media, even though the accounts are still there. I might post one or two random things about Star Wars or something, but I'm only taking direct referrals
Uh-huh.
because
Okay.
I just it feels so not whatever. And your posts come across, Christina, which is why I tried to get to yesterday's, because I was like, well, maybe it's my energy. Maybe I need to be in this group for a reason, which is why I signed up, because
Well, and my intuition was like lean in with her, and that's why you're here. So this is
yeah.
perfect.
So I'm trying to
Yes.
cleanse, sage it, whatever, to
Well,
develop a different relationship.
can I just speak to the energy I'm feeling from you? So I feel like it's like this very protective, like it's like this. Like that's it. I just that if I could translate the energy into, it's like stay away, stay away. Like that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
And so we want to just be curious about these protective parts. Kim actually talked about this yesterday related to something else. And what I don't want to see is that you're not able to reach the people who need you. Right. And so we want to just be curious about what are some of these fears, these because when I was reading that, it was like every DM. So like I DM you, right? So like, am I scammy? I don't know, but you want
I
to
guess
just
the
start
ones
to
from the
be
people that I don't specifically know, because really that's
right,
my circle anymore, are people that I
right,
truly feel I know. So
right.
these new ones, we'll put those in the
So what part of you doesn't feel safe to have interactions on social media?
Well, I mean, so one, I feel is very valid because I had my identity taken from me
Okay,
through the bank.
there we
So
go.
there's the logistical aspect. And then two, again, energy. Wow, I feel like I'm just gonna, you're like, well, there's a masterclass on that. I have a very challenging client and have been working with one since September. And there's this concern that I could not manage more than
Right,
what I have
right.
if that's what I get.
I totally get it. I hear you.
Because it's just me. And so I'm sure
Right.
there's I want to help, but only come to me if it's something I can say fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it's open-ended,
Yep. So energetically, this makes so much sense, right? Because of these past experiences you've had. Now it's like, oh, this person is challenging. So like, how can I don't have capacity to take more?
right.
So I think this comes down to like you said, it's, maybe cutting cords with that past situation, and honoring your feelings, right? Like never bypassing or like gaslighting or, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Like all of this makes so much sense. And also allowing yourself, maybe if it's like even a 1% micro shift, to be like, you know what, it's not black and white. I can take a step forward and trust yourself and say, okay, what feels good for me for, maybe starting to engage if you want to. The other thing I'm hearing intuitively for you is around boundaries, and standards. So as an example, we can even talk about this too, because my slide is next about magnetic messaging. When you are clear, this is who I work with, this is who I don't work with, it's so powerful, because then you start attracting those people that are aligned. And you're allowed to say, I actually just did a podcast on this. I'll send it to you if you want, if I can DM you. But it's all about like choosing your soul aligned clients, because just because someone comes to you doesn't mean you have to say yes. So you can use that discernment to say, okay, yes. And here's the expectation. So this, Christine, you might like this too, because it's like the black and white, right? So what I do, I actually have in my contract, you agree as a client to show up fully, to be self-responsible, to be open, coachable. That is who I work with. So I think maybe even defining that and like writing that out, so that in your energy, in your mind, and your heart, this is the type of client I want to work with. So you've already seen the contrast of like what you don't want. And I've had that too. I've had some challenging, clients as well. And you get to like tweak that energy. So I want to just empower you to know, like, it's okay that you're feeling this. It totally makes so much sense, and you can shift it. How does that feel to you?
Well, I mean, it feels great,
Yeah.
conceptually. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's why.
It's that integration piece.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I hear you.
And that is why
I'm just
sign up.
celebrating you, because you're admitting it, like owning it and saying like, this is what the block is so powerful, because then you're able to say, okay, let's play with the energy here. Let's shift this. Let's move this. And I know that something new is going to open up. And so be gentle with yourself as you do this work. Cause that's very traumatic to have somebody steal whatever, you said your identity or
parts of it
happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Welcome, Kim. I don't see you. I wish maybe she's here, but she's not on video. Katie, did you want to add anything else to that or about your slide?
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for engaging in the chat. I see some. And then Lisa had a question. Is there a way to set up automatic message? I think, is there something on Meta that you can do?
I'm not sure about Meta, but there's ManyChat.
Oh, okay. You answered.
And
Oh, okay.
I know you can set it up like if someone comments a special word, it'll DM them. So I'm not entirely sure if you get a new follower, if it will automatically DM them, but I'm assuming that they do. That is actually a job that I'm having my virtual assistant do, is she is reaching out to any new followers, so I don't have to worry about
Nice.
it. Because I
I
was
love it.
starting to get a little bad about keeping up with it. So I'm like, hey, can you start doing this for me? Probably will just take a couple minutes of your time per week.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome. So now we're kind of okay. So we talked a little bit about sales. So this goes hand in hand with that in the way that I see it, because it's like, okay, how are you getting people to actually engage on your content so that you can reach out to them and say, hey, like, I see you've been following my content, right? So this all kind of fits in together: marketing, sales, content creation. So we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday, so I'm not going to go over this too much. I make that bigger. We talked about that this is kind of an easy framework you can use in your newsletters, as social media posts, essentially, having a hook sentence that draws people in, and then having kind of this 3-part framework that will naturally lead people to a call to action. So what is their endpoint, right? Are they joining a Facebook group? Are they signing up for your offer? Are they like getting a freebie? What is that? So we talked a little bit about that yesterday, and I wanted to go into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of like, okay, well, what are some of those things that I can post? So I feel like, Erin, you would like this, because based upon what you talked about yesterday and what was your aha. So I call these buckets of content creation. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'm hoping it's big enough. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. I can always even give you, I'm happy to share this PowerPoint with you too, so that you can have it. So essentially what you can do, we talked about yesterday, sometimes, think about it, when even you as a consumer, when you're scrolling on Facebook or you're scrolling on Instagram and something catches your eye, what is that? I want you to pay attention from now on and say, okay, what was it? The image? Was it something this person said? Was it a story? So you can kind of vary your content to kind of hit on these different points, right? Because maybe you want to have some fun posts in there and you want to have people start engaging on like, hey, like what, I do this sometimes in my Monetize Your Magic group. Like we used to do this all the time. Rachel, my old assistant, she used to put like a fun post, and it kind of just like varies up the energy a little bit. So something like, what's your favorite Bath and Body Works candle? Or like the holidays came around and I said, like, what do you love to cook, for holidays? So it's kind of just allowing, rather than it's like business, or, it could be something a little bit fun, a little bit different. So these are just ideas of kind of, how to fit in content into your marketing calendar, and just different ways to vary up that energy. So personal story, this is big. I would say that when you share something personal, whatever feels safe for you to share, it really, and especially if it relates to your client, that it can allow them to connect with you. Because we talked about this yesterday, there are computer screens, right? It's not like, hey, I'm here with Andrea having a conversation, sitting and having coffee. So how do we create that experience of this person getting to know us through the computer? So telling a personal story, it could be a life lesson that you learned, or something that you overcame. It could be like, you guys know me, I'm pretty much like an open book. I'm like, yeah, I did this and I was, had an eating disorder and, whatever, but you can kind of do whatever feels comfortable for you to share about like a personal part of your story that then relates to a pain point that your client is struggling with. And then you lead them to, hey, I want to help you with this, right? This is something that we do and we cover in my blah, blah, blah program. So you're naturally always leading people to some kind of call to action. So personal story, that's another bucket. Client story testimonial, big one. I do this every Tuesday, Testimonial Tuesday. You guys see it all the time, with or without a picture. You can do something like that, a story of how you helped somebody achieve a result, because I think, we connect with stories a lot of times, right? So we want to have that person who's scrolling be like, oh my God, that's me, right? Wow, like look at that transformation, look at what's possible. And it could be a podcast, video, or any other form of media. Quotes. This could be like, inspirational quote. You don't want to overuse this because then it's like, just copying from like other people, which it's fine. It's kind of like the educational content where say that you want, I'm thinking about like Andrea, patient advocacy, right? So you have certain things that you want to educate your audience on, which makes a lot of sense, right? So you have to do some of that education to have people lean in to say, oh, okay, you know what, I my mother needs that, or whoever the caregiver is that that maybe they go and refer you, right? So you have that that's like educational post or a quote. You could do something like that. Metaphor. So this is like me really just getting kind of like corny with it, but whatever. Like being blocked is like having a kink in a hose, like your energy can't flow. So like using metaphor can be fun and very creative if you use it in a way that allows people to connect on a more like you're taking a high level concept and you're making it something that everybody can understand, right? So like everybody knows what a hose is, everybody knows what a kink in a hose is. So like that even could be something that you share about to help give a conceptual idea of a more like a more complex concept that you teach or that you talk about. I often do this with energy stuff because people are like, what? So I try to just bring it down to, my dad always taught me that. He was like, make things really simple to understand for people. Like we don't need the fluff. We want like, okay, how is this helping somebody? So that's another way. New perspective or your theory on something. Like this really shows expertise, thought leadership. So you can do things like that where you're sharing a new perspective. I'm trying to scroll over here and it keeps changing. Other examples are bold posts. We talked about this. I know, Erin, we were talking about this a little bit of like leaning in with your audience and challenging them and saying like, hey, right now you think this is your problem, but really it's this root cause thing that or this blind spot that you're not seeing. And this is what I help people with, right? It's like, oh, that's juicy. Because when if you're like the cheerleader and like, I've been guilty of this too, like, oh, you can do it, like encouraging, trying to motivate people through posts, then the energy is the same, right? So we want to kind of vary that up a little bit and lean in with people and say, hey, right now you're struggling with this and you think this is the problem, but really it's this. And that's going to shift the trajectory of your transformation, of your business journey, whoever you work with. And then a pain point post. So I was even thinking, Christine, like I'd love to dive in a little bit with you here, because I think this is an opportunity for you. My intuition was drawing me to, I was talking to Katie. I was like, I need to talk to Christine about this because, and Lisa too, maybe for your clients, like a pain point post. So what is it that they're struggling with that you can say, I get you and I know where you're at? Like as an example, it could be, you just don't know where to start on this homeschooling journey, and like go into the emotions of their daily experience. Katie had a really good post the other day, and it started off with, you're waking up at 2 a.m. Katie, help me with the verbiage. It was like, this is having you up at 2 a.m. worrying, right? It's like getting into that nitty gritty of like, what is this mom worried about? Like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm going through this now with like all the things like breastfeeding and this and that. I'm like, what am I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. There's so much information. So like speaking to that, right? Like right now you're feeling lost, frustrated. You're being bombarded with all of these messages of like how to homeschool. Like I help streamline the process for you, or like you're going to be connected to support community. So speaking to that, I think is important. So Katie, I'll let you, I forget what the wording was. It was so good though.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, so how I wrote that post, and it was maybe like it's 2 a.m. and I can't stop thinking about,
Yeah, it was whatever it was.
oh,
It was
it's
like
2
really
a.m. and I
good.
can't sleep because, and it like
Yeah.
put yourself back into the position of whatever you experienced that is, the fire to your passion to what you want to do now. So for me, I put myself back into when I was struggling to get pregnant. So, and I thought to myself, like, what was going on in my mind
Right.
at that time? And I wrote it out. It was basically like writing a letter to myself. And that's a way that you can really help connect with your ideal audience, with all the things that, you know, Christina is sharing with you, especially on the pain points, is just kind of putting yourself back in that place. So, I'm gonna keep picking on Christine. So maybe for you, maybe when you first started homeschooling, maybe you had a lot of fears or doubts, or I'll just speak from my experience. It's kind of like, uh, what do you even do? How do you find something like the curriculum and fitting it into your schedule? And there's just all of those things. So yeah, just putting yourself back into that um older version of yourself if you had that experience with what you help people with now.
There's my Kim. I see her face now. I'm so happy you're here. You found a caregiver for your son? No? Oh, that's okay. If he pops on, he could say hi. Aw, good for you. I love that you're here again. So yeah, think about, and that's a hook sentence, right? We talked about hook sentences yesterday that pull the person in, like you're ruminating over this thing at 2 a.m. What is that? I'm speaking to that pain point. So getting into the emotion. Awesome. Okay. Any questions on that before we move on? I haven't checked the chat. Katie's being a rock star, personal story, or you hit a lot of pain points for people. Absolutely. Yeah, love it. Lisa, I hear you. Yep. I think if anything, I'm gonna lean in with you here and say, like, because of like when you own that part of your story, I think it's powerful, and I think that people respect that, and it's not gonna it's not gonna push them away. It's gonna draw them in and be like, wow, look at what she's been able to do, or how the resilience or whatever the strength is that comes out of our challenges. So I would definitely explore that. Oh, thanks, Katie, for dropping that, the Instagram post. There it is. So you got this, Lisa. We're here with you. We love you. So, okay. Well, I'm going to open it up for like questions. So if you have a question, we can always come back to it too at the end. But I wanted to keep going here with just kind of shifting gears to some time and money saving strategies. So I want you to think about, Katie was talking about time, right? So how do we collapse time? How do we accelerate the path to helping you really be efficient with your energy so that you're spending time on the needle movers, right? The things that are going to help you serve, right? That's why we're here. All of you, it's beyond money, right? We need money. That's a big driver, but I know all of you have big hearts. You're here because you want to make an impact. You want to show up and serve your clients. And so in order to have a sustainable business, we need to be spending time on things like income generating activities. So it could be sending out a newsletter to promote a program, using that 3-part framework and leading them and saying, hey, like, here's my workshop, right? Here's my program. Following up with prospects. Katie just talked about that. So I actually don't do discovery calls either. I solely sell through direct messages because for me, energetically, it was so much to get on discovery calls. So that's actually like, I decided energetically that I'm going to be soulfully selling through connection and DM. So you can decide what works for you in your business. Learning a new skill, like you guys all being here right now and learning, that's part of, like, I call them 5 profit pillars, things that are going to move the needle in your business. Learning new things that will then add value for years to come in your business. You're going to hopefully remember, part of this that you can, use and implement in your business. So that's, an income generating activity, in my opinion. Other things like setting up systems. Maybe you have team members working on a funnel or something like that to sell a passive income product. That's an income generating activity. Or running a client converting workshop. So a 2-day event, a 3-day event, a masterclass, something that, you're bringing a group of people together who are interested in the topic, and then you're helping them to have a little bit of the taste of the transformation, right? A little appetizer. And so that way, you can say, hey, I'm sharing what I'm knowing, and then I'm making an offer, right? And there are a lot of different ways that you can do that. And then some money saving strategies. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, like utilizing AI. So Katie talked about chat GPT yesterday. We love also using, Katie and I have both used this. If you, I don't know if you guys have seen this on Facebook groups, you can automate Facebook posts with this admin assist. And if you want, I could even show you, like if we have time later, I can go on the back end and show you what that looks like. So if you wanted to have engagement posts and you wanted to have something like, share what your weekly goal is, say you have a program in a Facebook group, you can literally go just boom, 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 like put that right in admin assist, and it's going to just keep posting indefinitely until you stop it. So you don't have to pay a VA or somebody to go in and actually tinker with that. You can set it up yourself or have your VA set it up. Christine's going to love this one, creating simple policies and procedures. Because once you do that foundational work, then it's like, okay, this is done. I don't have to keep repeating myself. You have policies and procedures. Hey, when this happens, we do this. This is the process for, like, I do this with my healers in healthcare, with a lot of the different, like programs that I have. We talked about yesterday creating checklists within like ClickUp as an example, that if you wanted your assistant to do these 5 things every single month, you can say, okay, they have to manually check that off within a tool like monday.com or ClickUp. So creating those simple policies and procedures, that's money saving, because think about it. You don't have to then train new people. You can just say, hey, go check this document out. And then if they have questions, they can ask. So, and then we talked about this too, using technology like Social Bee. So like if you have a social media person that kind of handles everything, they can literally plug it in to this platform and put it on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. This is what I use. My social media person, Iris, she's incredible. And so money saving, time saving, it's just so much easier. So thinking about like too, this is definitely money saving, like posting organically versus using Facebook ads. I personally like posting organically. I'll be straight honest. I don't know much about Facebook ads. Katie, if you want to comment on that, but I know that it can be a lot. And you can get some conversion there, but I feel like more of the organic approach, especially earlier on, is the best way. So that's what I've seen.
Yeah, with Facebook ads, it kind of depends on what you're pushing out, but a lot of times you want to have social proof organically before you're going to, like if you're selling something, before you're going to put money behind ads. Yeah.
I knew you would know.
Mhm. Yeah, and Facebook has changed their I forget the name for it, but like the audience that you can choose to reach. And depending on the niche that you're in, it could actually be hard to reach the
Yeah,
people that you want to reach.
Katie has all the answers. I know you've done Facebook ad trainings.
I've had both positive and negative experiences.
Yeah. So, speaking of streamlining your processes, these are just, we wanted to highlight too, a little bit more in like a granular sense. Okay, what does that look like? What are some of these actual tasks that you would delegate? Because I feel like I hear a lot of people ask, like, oh, when do I hire a VA, or how do I know I'm ready to add team members? So we wanted to talk about that too a little bit here. So Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm a visual person. And on the next slide, this is going to make all of anyone who likes to look at things logically. So I hope that this is helpful. But I just wanted to share some of my experiences with hiring virtual assistants or social media managers. I have actually hired a handful of them. So in my first business, the e-commerce business, selling on Amazon, we had a VA. She lives in the Philippines, and the US dollar is worth a lot more over there. So you're actually able to pay them a lesser amount for the amount of work that they do. And I was working with an agency. They took care of the payment. I basically just had to give them like our account number and they took care of all of that. But this VA, I'm trying to think, I think she typically did about 20 hours a month. We were paying her between $4 or $5 an hour. So that's nothing. And the tasks that she was doing were like, oh my gosh, if my husband and I had to do these, they're very tedious tasks, things that while we were still working full-time in pharmacy and raising our baby, we did not have time for these things. So we had pay-per-click advertising. She would go in twice a week and kind of optimize those. Customer service, if anyone ever reached out and they wanted a refund or there was an issue with the product that they got, she would personally reach out to them. And then also, I actually had someone help train her on how to make graphics to then post on social media. So basically, this business, once we trained her, everything was pretty much hands off, and we really didn't have to do anything on our end, minus making sure that she was doing her job. So that's one experience. Now, I know we kind of shared this a little bit yesterday, but I had opened up an Etsy shop last fall. I created my own listing. I had one single listing. Very proud of that listing.
Was it
And
the essential oil? Was it the roll-on?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It was my my hormone balancing essential oil. And I quickly realized like I don't have time to build this out. So I had hired a VA. It was like in May or something like that. So it's kind of small, but this little graph at the bottom,
Here, I can make it bigger here.
all
Let's.
the way towards the left, is like September. So that's when I first started. And as you can see, I hired her in like May or April of 2023, that the growth almost like doubled. This
Where's
was
the
the,
y-axis or the yeah, y? I'm
I
like,
don't
where's the
think,
y?
so that was the amount of people that were viewing my listings.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Like the when do you learn about these charts? Whenever I was like, wait, where's the the axis?
yeah.
Y-axis,
Um,
whatever. Geez, I'm making a mess here.
yeah, that's what you can kind of put it back if you want. But yeah,
Okay.
so she has helped me build that out. That's increasing sales, that's increasing visibility. And I have honestly been almost using Etsy as a way to market my fertility business. The
Yeah.
things that I have on there are, to help support people who are struggling with fertility. So since that one listing, I now have 113. We have added digital products. We have added shirts,
You have like
tote,
bags too on there.
yeah, tote bags, socks, like they're basically like IVF, mama shirts, postpartum shirts, things like that. And to just kind of wrap everything in that we've been talking about, I hired someone on Fiverr to make these digital products. So basically on Etsy, someone buys it, they get the digital format. I don't have to do anything. I don't remember what I paid her, but I know it wasn't very much. I was like, hey, I want affirmations, I want a habit tracker, a period tracker, all these different things. She made it. And then I gave it to my VA, like, make a listing for this. Done. So yeah, it's kind of a different way to put myself out there and market, just trying to think outside of the box. And I'm not saying go make an Etsy shop, but just trying to think of like, what is something cool or unique that I could do to market my business. So
What I'm
I
hearing you say, I just want to pause here because I think this is important. It's kind of
Mhm.
that pathway to purchase we were talking about yesterday of like,
Mhm.
that low tier offer that maybe it's like, oh, essential oils. And then Katie, it's like, oh, well, now I know about Katie. I got this beautiful package because she always wraps it with love. And it's like, oh, who is this person? Starts following her. They become a client. I actually myself had experienced this on Etsy. Just a quick story. I was looking for a template for, I think it was like Kajabi or a landing page. And I stumbled upon this girl who wound up redoing my 3 landing pages for the Healers in Healthcare conference. Like, and she was, she up leveled me. Like it was just it, but I needed that. Like I really, um, and that low tier offer was kind of what got me in. And then I was like, oh, I actually need you to do like a couple of my other landing pages because she was so brilliant. So this is definitely a great idea. And you can expand this into, it doesn't have to be like an Etsy shop. If you don't sell physical products, it could be like a workshop or something that
Mhm.
you then show that value, have transformation, or have people go through that transformation, and then they move up to the next level of like a membership or a one-on-one program. So just kind of realizing, again, it's people need to invest at sometimes smaller levels, which totally makes sense. And then they're like, oh, I love this person. Yeah, let me keep like, I need help with this now. So I love this story. It's really
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, so just to kind of add to that, she does about 4 or 5 hours a month for me. So I pay her 160 a month to do what she does. And just the possibilities of what could happen, like you were saying, like the path to purchase. I reach out to every single person that purchases, no matter what it is. I thank them. I share a coupon code for future orders, but I'm also like, hey, if you want, I have a free fertility and hormone Facebook group. I have had women join from just buying on Etsy. I have actually gotten on sales calls with women who have purchased from Etsy. So if you think about it, I'm paying this woman $160 a month, and that could turn into I'm just using this as an example, a $3,000 pay in full client, right? So like to me, investing in her to expand this shop, to kind of work on the back end, the keywords, to make sure that the listings are going to work optimally, that's worth it in my mind because I don't have time to worry about that. So, yeah, and then just kind of like another way to look at this, but when you hire a virtual assistant or contractor, you can have them focus on the lower income generating activities. So some of the things that I just talked about, like whether it was my e-commerce lady, so going in and tweaking the paid advertising to make sure that it was performing optimally. That's not in my zone of genius, right? Or this woman who's doing the keywords on my Etsy shop. Or I shared earlier, I have another one of my VAs reaching out to any new followers and things like that. And then that way I can focus on the higher income generating activities, whether it's coaching my clients, showing up on social media, creating programs, things like that, that are going to actually generate you income, not, you know, doing like the techie stuff on the back
Mhm.
end, those policies and procedures that keep, circling around. And I do just kind of want to add to that something to think about for that outside of having it to train your VA or new VAs in the future. If something were to ever happen to you, God forbid, you got into a car accident or whatever, where you had to step away from your business. And if you have something like that made that you could give, right? Think about how helpful that could be for you to have. Um, so if you think about how much is your time worth, and this is just an example, I'm just kind of using numbers. So let's say your goal income is $180,000. I'm going to say we're planning on a 30-hour work week because who really wants to work 40 hours? That's just typically what people work when you work for someone else. So let's just say a 30-hour work week for 52 weeks. That ends up dividing into about $115 an hour. So let's just say that's what your time is worth for the income goal that you have decided for yourself. So let's just say you want to build a funnel, whether the funnel is for a free lead magnet or a funnel for someone to sign up for your program, whatever it may be. 10 hours times your hourly rate is a little over $1,100, right? And if you were to have a VA build out this funnel or whatever it may be, I know Christina shared the example yesterday of her VA plans out her social media calendar. So let's just say 10 hours, and I have paid between $4 and $40. So that could range anywhere from paying out $40 to $400 for a 10-hour task. You could be spending $750 or $1,100 more of your personal time compared to having a VA do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of goes back to what Christina talked about yesterday, like your return on energy, right? And how is that showing up as income coming in on the other end? So if you're working on building 10 hours on this this funnel, think about if you had spent 10 hours on a high income generating activity
Yeah.
instead of focusing on like the back end things.
It's amazing, especially too, like I said, I just literally did a promotional video. I took me 3 minutes to record it. First take, I'm like, I'm not being a perfectionist. Was it perfect? No. I sent it to someone on Fiverr. He overlaid it with music. He put text over it. I'm like, boom, done. Put it on the landing page. Like, it's allowed to be easier. And I think I always talk about this, like that gap between idea and implementation, right? It's like all that resistance, the overthinking, the, perfectionism where we're like checking something 1,000 times. I want you to think about the fact that we can start collapsing that. We can collapse that time by hiring team, using tech, doing some of the inner work, right? We need to allow ourselves to embrace that not everything is going to be perfect, right? And we can always tweak things and we can always come back. But I think that it really does come down to like that idea to implementation, because I think it's almost like a lot of that resistance. And then I hear a lot of people were like, oh, I really want to do this thing. And then I follow up with them a year later. I'm like, hey, how's that thing that you wanted to do? And it's not a judgment. It's just, okay, let's look at how efficient are you being with your energy? Are you taking that idea to implementation, or is there a lot of stuff in the way? So we want to just be curious about that. So anything else, Miss Katie?
Yeah, no, I have seen the video that you speak of, and I think
Yeah.
just thinking of myself, if I were to edit something like that, I could see that taking me a couple of hours just because it's like you want to make it perfect. And I feel like when someone else is doing it, that perfectionism isn't as bad, or at least for me, at least. It's like, here, this is what I want you to do. And then it's done. So Kim is asking, what can she expect as far as setting everything up? It takes time to find people with the right skill set and negotiate payment. Oh, I don't think she's switching computers yet. Hopefully you're still here, Kim. I have hired people on for projects in a matter of hours or days. It really depends on the project and how quickly they get back to you. But usually when I reach out to someone, we'll kind of chat about what I'm looking for. I'll make sure that they're the person for the job, and then you pay them, and then you give them what's required, and then they get started on it. And you kind of, for Fiverr at least, it'll have like a 3-day window, 5-day window. It kind of depends on what they're working on. But I've had things turn, like your project, Christina, turned around in like 2 days, right?
Oh, it was 24 hours for this video.
Yeah.
It was like, this is what I'm looking for, boom. But I'm very decisive. I'm like, I feel the energy of the person. I look at their portfolio. Is it the design I want? Then they have different packages too. Like, okay, it depending on delivery rate, like, do you want it in 24 hours, or like, do you want XYZ feature? So I think that can be another thing too, right? Where it's that idea to implementation gap of, being very decisive and discerning. Okay, this is what I want. I'm going with it. And they're so good that they'll be like, okay, here, like, even if they don't do it exactly the way you want, they allow for revisions. Like, I had to tell this guy, I'm like, it's too much fluff. Like, you need to like dial it down a little bit. And now that he knows how, like, what my style is, he's like, hey, come back. And like, if you want future videos done, now he knows exactly what I want. So sometimes it is that foundational work of like kind of describing what you want, your style, what you want it to look like, especially with like a video. But once you do that, then it becomes a lot easier. So great question, Kim. I love that. I don't know how to do the thing I need someone else to do. So is that normal? Yeah, that's okay. Like, I don't know how to, like, I have a website developer. I don't know what cache is, like, how you have to, like, or clearing cookies. Like, I don't know what any of that is. I'm like, hey, I have this issue. You don't need to know how to do every single thing. So yeah, that's totally fine. Great questions here. Awesome. All right. So over the past 2 days, we've gone through a lot. And you guys have been so awesome in the Facebook group. I really appreciate all of the engagement. And by now you've seen it's allowed to be simpler and that you don't have to do this alone. I always talk about my story. So I spent for the first 7 years of my business literally tinkering behind the computer and trying to do everything myself because I was a strong, independent woman. And if I couldn't do it, I wasn't good enough. And all of these beliefs that aren't true. And so I avoided hiring or paying for coaches, help, support, tried to be like that independent woman, just do it myself. And I spent a lot of hours and time trying to figure out all of the tech. And as a result, I barely scratched the surface of what I'm earning now, the impact too, right? It's like I said, it's keeping that business going, but it's also the impact of your voice, your self-expression, your mission in the world. So, I barely scratched the surface very early on in my business. I wasted a lot of time. I sold one-off sessions. But really what I was doing, and I'll call myself out, I was hiding, right? I was hiding behind perfectionism, behind needing to be in control, behind the unworthiness and the shame that I was still holding from all of the trauma that I had experienced. And so I played small and I didn't invest in myself. And I saw how much it cost me. And it wasn't until 2019 that I went all in. I was like, I'm done. I remember I was on Zoloft at Rite Aid. I was working at Rite Aid. And I had to go on that because I was working 12-hour shifts. I was had debilitating neck pain. I had to wear like a thermocare patch. My body was breaking down. My mental health was just in the toilet. And I knew that I had to change something. And so that was like my breaking point. And I said, nope, I'm done. And I hired a coach for $18,000. And I said, I am going all in on my business. So I have invested since then in so many different programs and intentionally invested, not just like, throw money at a problem. Like, no, I've intentionally invested because I know that to collapse time and accelerate the path for where I want to go, and the belief that I have in why God put me here and the mission that I'm on, it requires that support. It requires somebody who's been there, done that, to help be like, hey, this is the way, right? So as a result, I've been a full-time entrepreneur. I've been so grateful and blessed to do this for 5 years full-time. And now I have all of the things that we've talked about, right? Processes, team members, things that I do on a weekly and monthly basis to keep my business going, to continue to build my audience and impact. So I think it's just important to see kind of like that transformation and how it is allowed to be simpler. So I'll let Katie tell her story too here. Kind of reiterating a little bit from yesterday, but just going a little bit deeper.
Yeah. So I believe I shared this yesterday, but my husband and I started that business in January of 2020, still working full time with a under 1-year-old, and it was crazy. Like trying to be an entrepreneur while learning to be a mother, it was very challenging and but definitely very worthwhile at the same time. And just to kind of fast forward to, I did not share this yesterday, so I will share it today because I think it's fun. It's kind
Yeah.
of crazy and funny, but the way I met Christina, so I was working with a functional doctor. I was having some things going on and I was working with her, and she had just mentioned like I just need to go back to being a health coach because that's what people need. And I was like desperately trying to figure out like what can I do that like to make an impact for people, but that's not retail pharmacy, right? Like let's be real here. I knew that there was no way I could make it in retail pharmacy until retirement. So when she said health coach, I began Googling how to be a health coach with a PharmD, like what can I even do? And Christina's website popped up and I saw that she was a pharmacist and she was coaching. I didn't really understand what she was doing, but I emailed her and I was just like, hey, like I want to talk to you. How did you do what you're doing? So we got on a call. I wasn't quite ready because I had no idea what I was doing, but she went to IIN. So I was like, okay, I'll go to IIN. I did that, started my business, started working with Christina. And like I shared yesterday, listening to her story, I knew like I don't have time to to wait for 7
Or
years.
piece it together by yourself,
Yeah, like
like I did for so long.
I don't have the capacity to do
Yep.
that. And having to step away from retail and my husband did at the same time, I remember Christina saying something to me and she was just I can't remember the exact words, but it was along the lines of like you're really doing this, like you're showing up and you're doing the work. And I remember saying to her like I have no other choice, like I am all in on that, like this is it. I don't know how many of you guys are pharmacists on this call, but I think a lot of us are. Just like you made that decision to invest in pharmacy school and put in 5 or 6 years to then hopefully graduate, right? None of us knew that we were going to graduate. We could have failed out. I had a lot of people fail out in my school.
Yeah.
So you bet on yourself that that was going to happen. And I look at business the same way. Like I am 110% invested in making this happen. And I think that that just reminds me that my journey as an entrepreneur has not been linear in any sense. I've had like 11K months and I have had 0K months. Like I've taken 5 steps forward and 10 steps back. Like I had my Facebook account hacked in like 2022, and you just have to learn to like brush yourself off, get back up. Um, yeah. And so just, I think what I'm trying to say is believing in yourself
Yeah.
and investing in yourself, just the way you did when you went to pharmacy school, if you're a pharmacist. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, that self-belief, it sounds so corny. It's like, "Oh, I believe in myself," but really it's like when you have that self-belief and it's like that unshakable like decision, that deciding moment of like, I don't care what happens, this is what I want and this is like maybe you don't know the exact way of how you're going to get there. There's a commanding energy that happens that orchestrates everything. You co-create that. And so I think that the decision and that conviction is really what's needed to move forward and to grow and scale your business, because it's not always going to be easy. You guys know I've shared very openly about my journey too. So we kind of talked about this too, where a lot of people get stuck, right? Is these are some of the things that we constantly see, right? So we just kind of talked again about our story. So this is what I've seen over the past 12 years. So where do we get stuck in scaling? So lack of clear systems, a plan, or processes. So spending a lot of time trying to figure it out, do things yourself. We kind of talked about the idea to implementation gap, the overthinking, all of these protective parts of us that I hear a lot of people say, like, I'm comparing myself to how I should be showing up. So there's a lot of that. And oftentimes then what the result is, if you're overthinking and getting stuck in that freeze response, you either feel paralyzed and feel stuck, and then months go by and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, because you're, kind of trying to figure out by yourself, or you're like throwing spaghetti at the wall, like, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work, right? Hoping something sticks. Other things that can get in the way is, I hear this a lot too, like struggle staying focused, staying consistent, and staying accountable. So your energy is kind of scattered and overwhelmed. And then obviously trying to piece it together by yourself without support. So then you'll see the trajectory in your cash flow, in your clients. And so we want that consistent clients and cash flow. So what I want to pose this question to you is, what if there were a way for you to have support and accountability to stay laser focused? If you could create these simple streamlined processes to delegate these tasks so you can scale to the next level. Remember I talked about that juggling. Imagine you're trying to juggle all these balls in the air by yourself. What if you spread that across a couple people? Then you don't feel so overwhelmed. You have more capacity to be present with your children, to go get a massage, which I hope to be doing. Like I am committed. I'm like, I am not like, Eric, you're going to be watching this child. I am going to go get a massage once a month. Like, do those things, right? That's, we deserve that, not feeling scattered and like, you're overwhelmed. And what if you were able to focus on these income generating activities that will get you in front of the right audience without you having to be constantly working? If people just came in on autopilot, if you could simplify your sales, marketing, and content to serve your clients while earning abundantly for your gifts. Well, we've got you covered. We were super creative with this name, Simplify and Streamline. So we've created a membership that is really meant to help provide this practical guidance, support, accountability, to be the all-in-one encompassing wraparound support to simplify, streamline, and scale your business. So this is marketing, sales, content creation to help you scale your business this year. Katie, that's...
Yes. And, I think the biggest thing that I have learned for myself is you don't have to do it alone, and you shouldn't have to do it alone. Just like motherhood, right? It takes a village. So I think that also goes hand in hand with being an entrepreneur, especially. I'm just going to say from my experience, like coming from retail to then trying to own your own business, like they did not teach, I don't know where you guys went to pharmacy school, but they did not teach that to me in pharmacy school. So you really have to just dive in and learn that all either yourself or have someone who has been in your shoes and has been there, done that, made mistakes, learned from them. And between Christina and I, we both have 15 years of experience in the online entrepreneurship space. So we're able to share with you, the time saving, money saving, energy saving activities, and really help you be able to do what you want to do in the first place, right? You want to serve your clients. You want to have an impact on the people that you want to help, right? In my case, I want to help women get pregnant. I'm extremely passionate about that. So you really want to just be able to own the value that you bring to people and feel good about that. I think that's a huge thing that I learned from you, Christina, is the value. I feel like in my mind, I had the pharmacist hourly rate so ingrained in my mind. What do you want to make? Oh, 10K months, $120,000 a year. Like, no. Like, I'll just use what I do as an example. Helping someone build their family, like, what can you even put a price tag on that? Like, the value that they're getting. And it's not even just, oh, you got pregnant, you have a baby. No, you're healthier. Your husband is hopefully also healthier too. Your children are now also going to have a better life of health ahead of them as well because of what you learned in this stage of your life. So,
And it's thinking too, I think, and this is, I think, helpful for everybody to think about, like really owning the value of the long-term ripple effects of that you're going to have. Like Katie helped me and Eric get pregnant. It would have taken us probably a hell of a lot longer because Katie helped us dig into like some of the things that I wouldn't have even known. And I'm a pharmacist and a health coach, but I'm like, I didn't know any of these things. So I think sometimes too, really owning the value of the long-term ripple effects of like, I have a child and I'm breaking generational trauma cycles because of the work that I've done with Katie. So I think when you really tease that out and it's not just this hourly rate, then you can start to really own the pricing and the value that you bring. So there's so many layers to this. So we're excited to help you with this. So what does this look like? So in this membership, first of all, it's going to be fun. That's on the next slide. Because like, I know sometimes with memberships and groups, right, it's easy to be like, oh my God, I'm so excited in the beginning. We've actually set up systems to help create these fun monthly challenges so that every single month you're going to be getting, we're going to pick a winner. Maybe I'll just go to this slide first. Hold on. Because I'm so excited about this. So we're going to be picking a winner. So you're going to actually be tracking your progress based upon homework completion. There's going to be Q&A opportunities in the Facebook group, coming to the live calls, meeting with your accountability partner. So you're going to tally at the end of each month. And this is going to keep you accountable too, right? Like it's kind of that fun incentive to, just like we did in this group, right? Like whoever's most engaged, you're getting a prize tomorrow. So we're picking 3 winners. So it's a fun way that, we really want you to get the result and have this consistency. So every single month we're going to be giving away, whether it's gift cards, bonus content, a free website review that I will personally go look at your website and send you a Loom video or Camtasia video. You could win one-on-one sessions because we want to reward you when you play full out. So what this includes is that wraparound support, like I said. So there's marketing, there's videos, live interactive support calls, there's accountability from Katie and I, and you're going to be paired up with an accountability partner. You guys have already kind of seen the power of that here, and who knows if there could be future collaborations or partnerships or how that could turn out. Like Katie and I was her client, she was my client, and here we are, we're collaborating and she's my support coach. So there's just infinite possibilities that can happen when you're in this intimate space with people that are on the same journey, that you just never know what could come of it. So there are all of these things that we have intentionally curated for this 12-month experience to really help you simplify, streamline, and scale your business for years to come. And it's what I love about this is it's super it's affordable. It's something that it's like a no-brainer price point. Katie, I'll let you describe a little bit more. And what we've done is we've actually created some fast action bonuses here to reward you. Since you're on this workshop with us, you guys have really played full out. So I'll let Katie describe a little bit more about that.
yeah. So anyone who's like, hell yes, this is what I want, this is what I need. I know a lot of you have learned a lot of new things that you didn't even know existed, whether it was the ManyChat, so you can automatically reach out to people, or ChatGPT, or just the social media automation. And I think that that's the beauty of community, is we can all chip in and keep each other informed. So for anyone who signs up by January 30th, we are going to give you a special founders rate. It's literally a no-brainer price point at $197 a month. So that will expire after 1/30. And you will also get a bonus 90-minute call with Christina and I about confidently packaging, pricing, and selling your offers. So whatever that may look like for you, we're going to dive into that and make sure that you're hitting the ground running. You're going to have Christina's Pivot to Profit workshop, which she could share a little bit more with you about that in a minute. And then that social media kind of like business card website optimization that I discussed yesterday, I will be personally making sure that all of your social media profiles are absolutely optimized and speaking to your ideal audience. And then Christina has also graciously offered 50% off lifetime access to her Elevate Healers or Pristine on-demand courses as well. So all of this is over $5,000 worth in bonuses when you join before January 30th.
Yeah, so I know that there might be some questions about like, is this an evergreen program? Like, are you going to be opening this again? So we're actually, because it's a more longitudinal experience, we want to really have that intimacy with all of you. So we're going to be closing enrollment. I think it's February 6th we decided on. So the price will be going up after the 30th, and then we're officially closing the program doors on the 6th because we really, again, like want to have that sense of community and that intimate experience for you. So these are just some kind of like FAQ that I thought of. So if you have any other questions, you can feel free to either, message either of us. My parents are actually coming in from Long Island, so I might not answer tonight, but I'm happy to, be of service to answer any questions that you might have. Because you might say like, oh, what level of business do I have to be and all of that. So happy to answer any of your questions. And we're just so, again, just so grateful that you were all here with us. And we'll open up for just general questions now about, any of the previous content. I don't even know what time it is. What time is it? I didn't even look. 6:20. Oh my God. It always works out. Look at that. We have plenty of time. Love it. Okay. So, yeah, like I said, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We'll put the link for this so you can learn more. And spoiler alert, you will see the video that I was talking about because it's a promotional video for the Simplify and Streamline. So you guys can see kind of what that guy from Fiverr did. I thought he did a good job. So anyway, I will open this up now for questions. And yay, I get to see everybody. Okay, so we got Chana, Deanne, some people joined before. I love it. Okay. Let's look at it. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing. Oh, absolutely. Love it. Okay, feel free to unmute. Free for all, whatever you guys want to ask, share.
I just wanted to say thank you very much for this. I learned a lot that will help me with social media and newsletter generation, two things that I'm trying to do less of myself.
Yeah.
So I learned a
I'm
lot.
so grateful.
Thank you.
Good.
I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yep.
I actually have to ring off because I have a podcast interview with Aaron Albert from Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs in about 9 minutes. So
go ahead. You go get ready.
All right. Thank you.
No
Have a good night,
worries.
everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Okay. Awesome. See you later, Deanne. I see you need to hop off to get to an appointment. Okay. Any other questions about, and like, again, I know we did a lot today, so no worries if it's still kind of sinking in, because I know we did a lot of this content.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I was chatting with Deanne in the side about this. So within the work that you do, and I've always enjoyed the content you put out, Christina. And maybe it's also because you're from Pittsburgh. And that's
yeah.
So I was telling Deanna that she's like, I noticed you've been kind of I said radio silent. And I said, yeah, I had this existential crisis of whether any of the information that I share actually matters, or am I just contributing to the noise of the world?
Yeah.
So I don't feel there might be this thought of, that's imposter. I don't view it as imposter. There's just so much stuff out there that I feel like I just want to put a post up that says, you guys know who I am, you know the work I do, message me and we'll talk. That I don't know. It just, the formula of all the language and the sing song of, I once was this and this, maybe it just turns me off, and maybe it's just, I don't know. And I don't want to be like, I feel again, like you're like the stiff arm energy thing. It's just feels, people know that there are problems in healthcare. And if you need an advocate, here I am.
But here's the thing here. I
Yeah.
want to challenge you here, because here's the thing is that unless people see you can, like, if, okay, so say as an example, you didn't see me post about this workshop and I was like, oh, she knows exactly what I do. Come find me, right? People need to see that consistency, because energetically they are going to lean into somebody who they can trust and they know that they feel safe with, right? So if you see me showing up every single week, which I do, and there's a reason for that, it's because, you're constantly building that know, like, and trust, and you're not always going to get that validation, that like, share, oh, good job this week. I never get that shit. But you have to keep going, because
Right.
look at this, right? You saw my post. This is proof, right? For you, that logical proof of, yeah, we need that. We need to see you show up. I enjoy your posts. You're so real and authentic, and it draws me in. Maybe I'm not your ideal client, but I think it's important to know that you might not always get that immediate feedback. As an example, I'll tell you a quick story. I'm getting the chills as I'm about to tell you this. So my goal is I want to reach 200 audiences this year. And I put it out there and I was like, I don't even know if anybody's seeing this. I put it out on LinkedIn. I had somebody reach out to me today and she was like, hey, I know that this is your goal. Here's a speaking opportunity. So you just never know. We live in a quantum universe where we're constantly planting seeds, and it's not going to come from maybe what you think it will. It might come from over here. So I want to just encourage you to know that what you do matters, what you say matters. And it's that consistency and showing up, even when things are going awry in our lives and it's not perfect. That's the whole thing, right? Because there's always new people coming into your orbit too. Like
Right.
there's new people on this call that I've never had on like a workshop before.
Right.
So I just wanted to kind of let you know, like, that it does matter.
It's almost like this dichotomy of the relationship that you can build in social media. I almost wish that we could I could turn off whether I knew if people were responding or not, because I tried to tell myself, I don't care if I get engagement or shares or whatever. And yet, I mean, obviously as a business person, I'm trying to see, does that make sense? Was the hook appropriate, blah, blah, blah. But if I had no knowledge of it one way or the other, then I could just share the chaos that I see just to share it, as opposed to feeling like this resonates or this doesn't resonate. Then, it's almost like being blinded to the outcome.
Yeah, I'm looking over here because I get downloads, so don't mind me.
Yeah.
I'm listening to you. There's an attachment there of like an expectation.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Of like, I will share if I get da 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 da. You got to cut that. You have to be so solid in yourself that it's like, I don't care. I honestly will say this with conviction. I don't care if I get 50 likes, if I get 2 likes, because you know what? I know people are watching, and I know that my frequency is reaching the right person. And I don't need validation. I don't need somebody to be like, good job, Christina. Like, that's like great, but I think it's that like solid, like, you have to know that patient advocacy, your mission, you matter, and that it doesn't matter what happens out there, because you're going to reach the right person. So I think it's like cutting that attachment of like, I need this thing to happen in order for me to keep posting consistently, because trust me, people see it, right? I had another experience. A girl never even, again, LinkedIn. that I've never connected with this girl. She never liked to post or anything. She reached out, oh, Duquesne University wants you to I was like, I don't know you, whatever, but it's that consistency, right? Because she's like, I've been following you for a year, comes out of the woodwork, and here it is. So I'm telling you that to kind of give that context of, again, it does eventually, people are going to hop in when they're ready, like all of you, right? You were ready for this workshop. So definitely you just keep going.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. What a great group of people. I love you guys. Yeah, awesome. Well, we are again perfectly on time, 6:28. So I'm going to keep the group open. So Andrea, if you're not already in the group, because that's where Katie's going to be posting the this replay. So definitely join the Facebook group. We're going to have the group open, I believe, for probably another week. That's typically what we do. So if you have questions, if you're like, hey, you know, whatever, Christina, you talked about post them right in the group. I'm happy to help. And you guys have been really just so great. So Katie will be pulling the 3 winners tomorrow. So are you going to get Olivia involved, or is it going to be you? Who's picking it? She's going to pick
I might, yeah. So we'll pick the winners, and then maybe I'll put the prizes in a hat, and Olivia can pick who gets what.
So yay. Who doesn't love prizes?
And I put the Facebook group link in the
Thank you.
chat if anyone needs to join it. And then there's also the offer link too, which we'll put in the group
Yeah.
as well.
There should be a newsletter automatically going out in a half hour anyway. So if you're on my newsletter, you'll get it. So, but yeah, thank you again so much for your time, for your just great engagement, questions. I really appreciate it. And Katie and I are just so grateful for you. So if there's anything we can do in the meantime to support you, we are here. And yeah, oh, thanks for everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Love it.
Cheering you all on, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night. And yeah, we'll see you in the Facebook group.